Hello, boys and girls. Greg from the Scary Spirits podcast here again to make you another cocktail. Today we will be making the Monkey Blood cocktail, which is the featured cocktail for today's episode of the Scary Spirits podcast. Alright, we're going to start with our highball glass with ice. To that, we're going to add grenadine. 1 ounce of grenadine. And we're just going to pour it around the sides here. Give it kind of a bloody look. Next, 1 ounce of vodka. Next, ginger ale, a dash. There we go. Apple pucker. 1 ounce apple pucker. Made right here, Cincinnati, Ohio. Finally, 8 ounces 7-Up or Sprite. I'm using Sprite. Top off the glass. And there, boys and girls, is our Monkey Blood cocktail. Yeah, it's pretty good. Of course, it's all Sprite, because that's what's on top. Let me stir it up a little bit. Although the instructions do not mention stir. Yeah. I could drink a few of those. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy the podcast. See ya.
Successful actors, at times, probably have to worry about being typecast, playing the same role over and over, sporting the same look. Case in point, if I say Bela Lugosi, what comes to mind? Most likely, you see him with a black cape, slicked back hair, and piercing eyes. I bet you imagine Dracula. This is likely because Bela was most successful in this type of role. And that's a fair assessment. But in this week's movie on the Scary Spirits podcast, Murders in the Rue Morgue, Bela breaks free from the typecasting. We get curly hair and a unibrow. And I have to admit, I'm digging it. He looks younger and like a totally different person. Honestly, I could do without the unibrow. Cheers.
Welcome to the Scary Spirits podcast. Please be advised that the presenters may use adult language and or discuss adult situations. This podcast is not intended for younger listeners or those that may be easily offended. So, if you're ready, let's go.
Hi, I'm Greg,
Hey, I'm Karen.
and welcome to the Scary Spirits Podcast, a podcast that combines the two very different but highly compatible worlds of scary films and alcoholic spirits.
What could possibly go wrong?
Indeed. How are you, Karen?
I'm doing great. How are you, Greg?
I'm good, Karen. Thanks for asking.
It's what we do.
All right, Karen, I believe this week's was my choice. Was it? Was it not?
This was all you. Tell the listener what movie you chose for us.
Karen, I have chosen the 1932 film Murders in the Rue Morgue,
Dun dun dun.
based upon the Edgar Allan Poe short story of the same name. Somewhat.
Not really. I actually read it.
Did you?
Mm-hmm.
They kept pieces of it.
Like 2 pieces.
Well, yeah, they're pieces, as I said.
Yeah,
Would you like to know why I picked this film, Karen?
I would like to know.
So today is Carl Laemmle Jr.'s birthday.
Happy birthday, Carl Laemmle Jr.
Yeah, who was head of Universal at the time, and he produced this film. That is why. Although he probably got credits on lots of films from Universal. But
You were drawn to this one.
I chose this one.
Okay. That's as good a reason as any.
Yes.
We've chosen movies for worse reasons.
And Karen, there is an Iron Maiden song by the same name. So
Yeah, I thought you would just use that as your excuse.
How could I resist?
Right.
Have you ever seen this film before, Karen?
I have not. Have you?
Karen, I have not seen this version of the film before, but I had seen the 1954 version, which is actually called Phantom of the Rue Morgue. But I've seen that one before.
Okay.
Similar.
Is that also a Universal film?
That one is a Warner Brothers film.
Okay.
And apparently it was originally a 3D thing, but I saw it on TV late one night. So many years ago, Karen.
So why did you pick this older one over that one? Just to see the difference, or?
Yeah. And, plus it had Bela Lugosi in it, Karen.
Well, that's true.
And I've never seen it before. So
Okay.
there you go.
Well, I'll be interested to hear how different it is.
I don't remember.
Oh, okay. Or not.
One's in color, one's in black and white. I can tell you that.
As I like to say, riveting.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And we do have a cocktail, Karen.
Yes, we do.
Cocktail I've chosen is called Bloody Monkey.
I like this one.
So first, our ingredients, we're going to need 1 ounce of grenadine syrup, 1 ounce of vodka or more, you do you. 1 dash of ginger ale, Karen.
Yes.
1 ounce of sour apple pucker schnapps, made right here in Cincinnati, Ohio, Karen, by DeKuyper.
Awesome.
And then 8 ounces of 7-Up or Sprite.
So I only have sour apple. Is sour apple pucker even more sour or something?
Maybe.
I couldn't find that, so I just have sour apple.
Okay, it's probably about the same. So we're going to take a highball glass and we're going to fill it about halfway with ice. We're going to take our 1 ounce of grenadine and pour it around the inside of the glass and then on top of the ice to give it that bloody look we love so much, Karen.
We do.
Next, we're going to add the vodka, 1 ounce. More if you prefer.
Did you use more?
No, I did not. I used 1 ounce. Then add the 1 ounce of sour apple pucker. Finally, we add the dash of ginger ale. Just a dash, Karen.
I guessed.
Then we fill the rest of the glass with 7-Up or Sprite, as I did, Karen.
Oh, I used 7-Up.
I used Sprite.
You just like to say that. That's why you buy it.
I had 7-Up too, but I had more Sprite, so I used it. I had the little cans,
Oh,
which actually wasn't 8 ounces. The cans are 7.5 ounces. So I'm only using 7.5 ounces of Sprite in mine.
Well, your drink is a little stronger than mine then.
Then we garnish as desired, which my desire is none.
And we
So
serve.
is mine. We're fancy.
Yes. Should we give our listener time to make their own Bloody Monkey cocktail?
Absolutely.
Hold on. And we're back.
Yes, we are.
All right, Karen, anything we need to cover before we get into this Universal
No, but I will
film
say of
from-
this drink, did your grenadine just blend into your drink?
Did not.
It didn't?
It was in the bottom. It was at the bottom.
Oh, I tried to kind of pour it on the sides.
I
And
did
it
try
just
to.
Yeah, that didn't work.
It wasn't
for me.
quite thick enough.
Yeah,
some
to
reason.
stay. I can
So-
taste the apple in it for sure.
Mhm. Yeah, I can too.
It's good. I
You
mean,
get that
I'm not.
first. The apple
Right.
kind of comes and hits you first. Yeah, it's fine. I like it.
Yeah.
Karen, might you have a brief synopsis of this film?
Why, yes, Greg. Yes, I do.
Thank goodness. Please, Karen, tell me a story.
In 1845 Paris, mysterious Dr. Mirakle demonstrates his theories on evolution using his ape, Erik, at a carnival visited by medical student Pierre and his girlfriend Camille. Unknown to his audience, Mirakle performs experiments in his secret laboratory that include mixing human blood with that of Erik's. After 3 prostitutes are found dead from being injected with a strange substance, Pierre is alarmed when Camille goes missing.
Hmm.
It's not the greatest summary.
It's pretty good.
It's all right.
I'm just going to rely on you, Karen, for all the science shit. Sorry. All right. Are we ready to get into it now, Karen?
Yes, let's get into it.
Murders in the Rue Morgue from 1932, Universal Pictures, starring Bela Lugosi and Sidney Fox, or Sidney Fox and Bela Lugosi, because she gets top billing in this film.
Oh, okay.
And apparently she was having an affair with Carl Laemmle Jr., Karen. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it or not.
That might help.
So did you watch this on Amazon Prime, Karen?
I did.
Okay. I did too. The first thing I saw was rated NR.
Mm-hmm.
Next, we see credits. And one of the characters is credited as Woman of the Streets, Karen.
Just one?
Yeah, just one
Mhm.
Woman of the Streets, woman singular. So the film opens and it says,
Well, they're playing Swan Lake, right? Is that the music that's in the background? I think it is.
I recognized it.
I'm pretty
I
sure
actually
it's
thought-
Swan Lake.
My first thought was, is this the same music they played during Dracula's credits?
I think it
the
is.
first-
And like I said, I think it's Swan Lake.
Yes, the Dracula credits is Swan Lake by Tchaikovsky. So you think this one's the same?
I think it is.
Interesting. So Paris, 1845. Karen is what it says. And Edgar Allan Poe's short story, Murders in the Rue Morgue, was first published in 1841 in Graham's Magazine. And it's credited as being the first detective story.
I can
Apparently
see that.
there was no word detective prior to this story.
Oh, well, that's interesting.
Yeah. So we start Paris 1845, and apparently there's a carnival, the yearly carnival, I think they call it, with sideshow acts.
Yes.
We see several, Karen. First one we see looks like belly dancers from some
Well,
foreign
we should
land.
say who's there is 2 couples, and they're drinking.
Yeah. I didn't have
Eh,
their names yet, but yeah, there are two
Well,
couples.
2 couples, and the woman is thrilled that Pierre has abandoned his books and is enjoying himself for once.
Yes,
And then,
that would be Camille.
yes, we find out later that's Camille. And then the Arabian dressed man tempts them to see the adorable lunch nymphs.
Is that what they call them?
Yes.
Excellent.
And the men of this group jump on the chance to continue their study of anatomy.
Yes.
because they are much nicer than the morgue, and they're terrible belly dancers with dirty old men watching them. But
Yeah.
that's one of the sideshow acts. Yes.
Mhm. That's the first one.
Yes. Did you get Camille's comment
Which
on
one?
how brown their
Yes.
skin color is?
And he wanted to see
Pierre offers to find out if the color is real.
Yes.
And she's not excited about that.
Like, is he going to lick him or something?
I don't know. I was like, I don't know. But she knows he has to get much, much closer in order to find that.
Well, they didn't look very brown to me.
Mm-mm.
No. And they didn't look like their costumes fitted all that great either.
No, it was all terrible.
So we did not see any bare breasts, Karen, but we saw some under breasts.
Should we apologize to Courtney and Jeremy?
Yes, sorry, Courtney and Jeremy. I will try to do better in the future. The next sideshow we see involves Native Americans. Correct, Karen?
Over to the next racist
Yes.
display. Yes.
They're not called Native Americans by the carnival barker, but that's what I am calling them.
Yes.
Apache Indians, actually, is what they're supposed to be.
Yes. They're dancing around in loincloths around a white man tied to a pole.
With their tomahawks,
Yes.
doing the Atlanta Braves cheer.
Yeah, it's not good. And I just stopped to mention here that Pierre and Camille are very much in love.
What about Paul and the other girl, who shall be nameless, apparently?
They're just starting to date, apparently. They're not. I don't know. They don't spend a lot of time on her.
All right. Like, she's not even credited anywhere that I could find. But anyway, Paul who's Pierre's, we learn
roommate.
later, is Pierre's roommate. Paul.
Yeah, he shows up later, but she does not.
So the next sideshow we go to features Erik, the ape man.
The beast with a human soul.
And there's like a carnival barker outside. This one has its own tent, like you have to go into, right? The other ones are just out there, and anyone can just watch.
It almost seemed like, did they have a ticket, right?
This one has an upcharge, Karen.
Yeah,
it's an upcharge.
I thought
you gotta
so.
go. You gotta buy a ticket to go in and see this one. This is Erik, the ape man. Damn it. So they all, buy their tickets and go in, and we see Dr. Mirakle.
Yes. That drove me crazy the whole time. Mirakle.
Yeah. And he begins speaking, and behind him we see a evolutionary chart, I wrote.
Well, yes.
But the doctor claims to be able to talk to the ape. He translates what the ape says to the attendees in the tent there.
Well, when they first come in, Bela directs Pierre and Camille to the front.
I mean, Dr. Mirakle.
Yes, Dr. Mirakle. Sorry. He's sporting some curly hair, and I got to say, I dig it.
What about his unibrow, Karen? Do you dig
that?
Unibrow?
I noticed that later. I did say, wow, that's quite the unibrow. He does have a unibrow, which not so much, but I like the curly hair. I wondered if that was his real hair.
Probably is.
Because, with Dracula, it's slicked back.
Yeah.
So I like it.
It's got the dippity-doo in there.
Yeah. Well, I liked this. But he explains he's not a charlatan. And when the assistant pulls back the curtain, everyone gasps. I thought that was pretty good.
Yes. The assistant, Janos, who's credited as Janos the Black.
Oh.
Or something like that. But yeah, Janos.
But yeah, and then they see that it's an ape standing upright, and everybody's very afraid.
Yes.
They're very afraid. But so what do you think? It was a chimp in the close-ups and a costume in the long shots?
Yes.
Would you say that's fair?
That's exactly what it is.
Okay. So then, yes, Dr. Mirakle says he can speak to the ape, and then he translates the story. Did you write the story down?
No, but he says he's lonely and whatever.
Do you want me to tell you kind of what he said?
Sure. Go ahead, Karen.
So the ape barely makes a noise.
He just whimpers.
He kind of whimpers a little bit, and Dr. Mirakle gets all of this from those couple of whimpers.
But he's talking to the ape.
Whimpers. He's talking to the ape, yes.
Dr. Mirakle, he's like almost talking to him in like
yes, he uses
Italian or some weird
other
it's a language.
I think it's their language.
Okay.
All right.
I don't know, but he says, my home is in the African jungle. I lived with my mother, father, brothers, and sisters. I was captured by a band of hairless white apes and carried away to a strange land. I'm in the prime of my strength and I'm lonely. And there was a lot more than that, but that's the gist of it. And then Bela points to the canvas behind him and says, this is the story of man, which is blasphemy.
Well, that's what the people say. And they ain't buying that he's translating what the ape says either.
You don't think?
Oh, hell no.
They're all scared.
They all look at themselves and shake their heads like, no, that's bullshit. They don't believe any of this.
Behold the first man. And he points at Erik.
And that's
the
when
ape.
the guy jumps up and says, heresy.
Yes. Because that's not the Christian view. Because Adam's the first man, not an ape. So that was why heresy started to be screamed.
The Dr. Mirakle says something about, do they still burn men at the stake or something for
he taunts them.
heresy?
Yeah, he's taunting them.
But he says he will prove his theory. He will mix the blood of Erik with the blood of man.
But what does that prove?
I don't know, Karen. You tell me, Dr. Karen.
I don't know. I couldn't figure out what he was doing or why he was doing it.
So I have questions, Dr. Karen.
What's that?
So this film is from 1932. When did the theory of evolution really get a popular foothold? Do you have any idea?
No. When was Darwin? Wasn't that around the same time?
1859. Okay, so
this is supposed to be
1859 was the publication of Darwin's on the origin of species, in which he argued the idea of evolution. So 1859, this is
1849, right? They said.
Well, this is 1845 when this takes place. So
it would be ahead of its time then.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. So evolution would not have been an accepted explanation of
yes
anything.
And it's it's still not in some circles.
I know it's not, but in 1845 it definitely was not, because Darwin hadn't published his work on evolution yet, right?
So this is very radical.
And even then it wasn't probably accepted or whatever. And as you say, even now it's not by everybody, but yeah, you do you, right, Karen?
No.
Are you saying that you believe that man evolved from apes, Karen? Is that what you're saying?
No, they didn't evolve from apes. We just had a common ancestor. Doesn't mean we evolved from apes. That's why apes still exist and we exist. We had a common ancestor.
Common ancestor. Okay, yes. So, okay. I see what you're saying. I get you. Which could have been a fish.
Well, eventually, yes.
I come from the water. Remember the Toady song we covered? I come from the water.
Exactly.
Okay. Next, we see Pierre, Camille, and Paul, and the other girl. They go to the cage to get a closer look after everyone else leaves. Like Dr. Mirakle asks if anyone would like to come closer to look at Erik after, he lets everyone else go.
I think everyone else left in a huff.
Yeah. Well, they don't believe this bullshit.
Yeah,
evolution.
It's bull crap. Yeah.
A talking monkey that the doctor translates for. He could be saying anything. It doesn't matter.
It's true. I could translate monkey talk for you.
But apparently Erik likes Camille's bonnet. So Camille gives Erik the ape her bonnet.
I think Erik likes Camille.
And then Erik attacks Pierre.
Yes, because he likes Camille.
And Dr. Mirakle asks for Camille's name and address so that he can send her a new bonnet, Karen.
Eric's choking Pierre through the bars. I mean, it's pretty good attack. And then all that Mirakle is concerned about is Camille's bonnet.
No, he kind of blames Pierre. He says, "You fool, do you want to be killed?" But Pierre says that won't be necessary. They don't need a new bonnet from the doctor.
He says it was an accident.
And they leave. But Dr. Mirakle tells Janos to follow them to find out where she lives. Next, we see Janos taking the doctor and Erik in a coach.
Well, wait. Dr. Mirakle talks to Erik after they leave and says, "You liked her, didn't you?" So they're establishing that Erik has a bit of a crush. But yes, then they go in the carriage.
And we see Camille and Pierre up on the balcony, and they have a moment, Karen.
Yes. They
Pierre.
talk about love.
Pierre, fills her head with all kinds of nonsense.
Yes, he sweet talks her. That's true. How beautiful she is.
Yeah, and stars and blah.
He loves
blah,
her.
blah.
She loves him.
And then they kissy face.
Yes, they do. I will say the ape suit is not a bad one. Did you think? It looked like
great.
Yeah, I didn't think it was terrible. I've seen much worse. All right. Apparently we disagree.
Next, Karen, we see two men having a knife fight.
Yeah. Are they fighting over the prostitute?
A prostitute? Is that what she is, Karen?
She's a girl of the streets. Sorry.
She's a woman.
Woman
of the streets, Karen. Yeah. So they're fighting over the whore.
And I will say that the atmosphere has drastically changed. It's dirty, dark, and foggy.
Foggy.
Yes,
fog.
from the balcony of Camille and Pierre, where it's very light and bright and airy, and down on the street, it's very dirty and foggy and dark.
And apparently on the banks of the river, too.
Yes.
So they both end up killing each other and falling into the river, basically. And the woman of the streets screams. She screams a lot.
It's pretty much her dialogue, yes.
But Dr. Mirakle approaches, and I wrote, this is a pretty nice shot of Bela Lugosi walking towards the camera in his, what looks like a very Puritan hat.
Well, he's going to use his Dracula eyes.
Well, no, you can't even see his face. It's silhouetted. It's dark.
Oh, this must be after.
Yeah, so he walks towards the camera, and it's a very dark silhouette, and the camera turns and follows him as he walks towards the woman. But the doctor takes the woman to his coach.
But they do a close-up of his face.
While he's talking to the woman of the streets.
And he calls her a lady, but he says it sarcastically. Because he doesn't consider her a lady. But she doesn't want to go with him.
But she does. Screaming all the way.
And crying. It almost sounded like she was laughing.
I know. I thought that
weird.
Too. Next, we cut and we see the woman tied up.
She had a reason to be screaming.
Yeah, so she's tied up to almost like a cross, right?
It's an X, but I don't know what else to call it.
I think it's a traditional
cross. Yeah.
That's what I would call
she's
it.
crying. It's not good for her.
Yeah, she's tied up. And I wrote, the doctor is trying to take blood from her.
Oh, I thought he was trying to inject her. I think he's trying to inject her.
Well, I thought that later, but
I think it is.
I don't think it is. Because
go ahead.
Well, first I made a note there's lots of beakers in a microscope.
Well, yeah, you need beakers in a microscope.
And I did some research on the microscope, Karen, and it goes back to like 1620. So there were microscopes, compound microscopes at the time that this film took place.
Excellent.
Correct, Dr. Karen?
I'm going to guess yes, if that's what you say.
Dr. Mirakle is looking through the microscope at blood I think he has just taken from the woman of the streets, and he says, I think he's rotten blood, he says.
He says something. Did you hear him say this? And I'm not sure. I thought he was trying to inject her, but you're right. I think he took some blood.
I think he'd already injected her before
he had
we saw
earlier.
anything.
Yeah. And he says, he keeps hushing her because obviously she's screaming and crying and he's getting frustrated.
Hush, woman, hush.
Yes. He says, this is to see if you will be the bride of science.
Yes.
Did you hear that?
Yes.
Which I thought was weird. So he's
trying to prove his theory of evolution.
It doesn't make any sense. But so he does look in the microscope and it clots.
Well, he says there's black spots and he calls it rotten blood. And
yes, because of
angry
your sins.
And knocks the microscope over and shit. And then he walks over to her and she gone.
She just dies.
But the doctor does seem genuinely remorseful.
He does at that point. He does seem upset because he prays.
I guess he does. So then he tells Janos to get rid of her. Get rid of it.
He says, yes, he says it. So his remorse does not last long.
So Janos comes along and cuts her ropes that she's tied to this cross with a hatchet, and she falls through a trapdoor into water. All we hear is a splash, right?
Oh, I didn't hear that because I said,
Oh,
where
yeah.
did she go?
Yeah, she fell into water. There was a splash.
That makes sense.
And then Dr. Mirakle says, "Will my search never end?" Next, we see the police. Police.
Is that your French?
I don't know. Yes, it is, Karen. Pulling a body from a river. And there are vagrants hanging out down there too, under the bridge, as you do. And they say it's the third woman this week. Always a woman, the third one this week. Cut to the morgue. And the guy who runs the morgue, I don't know what to call him, the morgue director. I don't know.
I didn't know either.
But he's asking the guy who brought the body in, I guess. Male? No, female. Age? He says something weird, like days or some shit, right?
I thought he said doesn't matter.
No, that's
But
later. It's much later, but and then asks cause of death, and the guy says drowning. And he asks profession. And the guy says yes. Which I guess means she's a professional woman of the streets.
That's what it implied, yes.
And guy says number 13. So they take the body over there to bed 13.
They do say she's naked.
Do they? I don't know.
Although we didn't see anything, Courtney
we
and
did not.
Jeremy.
But I wrote the morgue looks more like a church to me.
So did I. There's a
than
big
morgue.
cross. Yeah. He's almost at what do you call it when you step up to the podium?
He's at the pulpit.
Yeah, he's at the pulpit. There's a big cross behind him, and each body is laid out almost like pews on both sides.
Exactly.
So it does resemble a church.
Yes, thank you, Karen, for backing up.
Reaffirming what you already said. Yes, you're welcome.
So next we see Pierre. He comes in and he wants to see the two women that he has apparently looked at before. But now he learns there is a third.
He's surprised by that.
Yeah, and this is where I was kind of catching on. I didn't catch that he was like a medical student earlier, but this is where I'm catching on. Oh, he's like a medical student.
Yeah, he says that, I think, or something.
He does. Or the guy running the morgue does. So Pierre asks to see the third woman, and he notices that they all have the same marks upon their bodies.
It's a triangle.
Yes, and Pierre asks for a specimen of her blood, but the director or head of the morgue or whatever the hell he is, I guess he's the
medical examiner.
Yeah,
I
guess
don't know
he
what
would
else.
be in today's vernacular. That's what it would be called, right? Coroner.
I think so. Yeah,
Coroner,
yeah.
right?
Oh yeah, coroner.
He refuses, but Pierre bribes him to bring him a sample the next day.
He says the inspector is pissed because bodies started disappearing.
Yeah, from medical.
So
he mentions medical students as well,
Yes.
and that's where I like put two and two together and like, oh, he's a medical student.
He's become very strict. I think they want them to pay for them or something, because was how they got cadavers to experiment on and such, to learn in medical school.
Next, we cut to.
But wait, did you say Pierre bribed him?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. With a coin. And says he'll return the next night.
Next, we cut to Pierre and Paul's flat, I guess is what you would call it.
Ooh, very European.
Yeah. And Paul is making Pierre macaroni on a potbelly stove, Karen. It sounded delicious.
It didn't look terrible.
It didn't.
It looked like spaghetti.
And here's where I made a note. Paul is comic relief.
Yes, he is. Basically, what he's saying is, I do and I do and I do for you.
He's like his wife. He's talking like his wife.
Nagging, and
he was kind of
the coffee's cold. I've made you macaroni. Can't you just get away from that microscope?
He's kind of effeminate or whatever.
Yeah.
You know? Which kind of made me wonder about, the girl he was with earlier, if they were, a couple or what. He acted like
I
they
think
were,
it's comic relief,
whatever.
though.
So next, who I'm calling the coroner from now on.
Okay.
Knocks at the door and comes in and gives Pierre the little package of blood. And he does kind of get more money, but they don't have anything to give him. So He's,
Well, yeah, and Paul is
he's
pissed 'cause
SOL.
Pierre gave them the money that they were supposed to have for food.
So they get rid of the coroner.
The
And
coroner wants the food too,
he does. He hasn't
which
had
was
lunch.
that was part of that comic relief, and Paul just ushers him out.
Yeah, says, well, then that means you must leave and go get lunch. See you later. Goodbye. So after the coroner leaves, Pierre tells Paul that after the carnival, he went to the morgue and did an autopsy on the girl. And she did not drown because she had no water in her lungs. So next, Pierre looks at the blood under the microscope and he finds the black spots, just as Dr. Mirakle did.
Well, he's from his drawings.
Well, he made drawings of what he sees.
Yes.
He's making
Do you want-
notes.
He's drawing blood corpuscles,
Yeah.
which are basically, do you want to know? Do you want to go to school?
We'll see how much I remember, Karen. Go on.
Blood corpuscles are just blood cells. Do you know
Yeah.
the 3 types of blood
Red.
cells?
White, red, white. I can't think of a third.
Blue? No.
No.
Okay, you're right. Red blood cells are erythrocytes. Do you know what they do? They carry oxygen.
Okay.
That's what your red blood cells do.
Right.
And he's drawn them on a piece of paper, which is why we're talking about them. So he has them labeled red and white
Okay.
on his paper. The white blood cells are
Look,
leukocytes.
they're like fight infection or some shit.
Yes, they do. That's why they
Look at me.
have the
Karen.
black spots in them. Okay. Those are the white ones.
Okay.
And then the last ones are platelets or
Platelets.
thrombocytes.
Ah, God damn it. I would have known.
And
I
those
should
are the
have known
ones that help you clot,
Yes.
your blood clot.
That's
so you
what
don't
causes
bleed
heart
out.
attacks, Karen.
Well, it also keeps you from bleeding out.
And also
So
kills
all
you.
of they're hematopoietic cells, which I had to learn how to say that word because so the bone marrow produces the blood cells. Okay, that's where your blood cells come from, or your bone marrow. And my thesis was written about megakaryocytes, which are in the bone marrow, and they produce the platelets. They get very large and they have multiple nuclei. That's why they're called megakaryocytes. But that's how I can say hematopoietic very easily because I said that word very often back in the day. But yes, megakaryocytes produce platelets. But yeah, you did really well. I'm
Thank
impressed.
you, Karen. It's fascinating.
It's riveting.
But Pierre thinks it might be some sort of poison, these black spots.
Something's introduced in the blood.
Something in the blood that shouldn't be there.
Caused their death. Yeah.
Right.
Which
Basically.
he sees in his drawings. So these are just drawings on a piece of paper. He's looking in the microscope and drawing them. And the leukocytes, which are the white cells, have these black spots and they fight infection. So he's deducing that it's something foreign in the body because that's what the white cells are supposed to do.
Then Pierre asks Paul if perhaps the doctor may have been correct about man evolving from apes or a common ancestor, Karen, as you say.
Why does that conclusion lead him to that?
I don't know. There is a little point in the middle there that I kind of missed, but
all I know is the roommate says he's fanatical because he won't stop, and the roommate scoffs at evolution. But Pierre thinks that Dr. Mirakle might be right.
I just think he's.
But I don't know why
interested
a couple of black. Well, maybe that's separate from him finding the dog.
Yeah, I think it's separate.
Okay.
He's just fascinated by the theory that man could have evolved from apes.
Not from apes.
Or a common ancestor.
Yes, there you go.
Which was an ape.
No.
Next, we see Camille opening a box, a round box. So it's not really a box, I guess, Karen, is it?
It's a
it's
hat
a
box.
tube.
It's a hat box.
It's a tube. And it has a new bonnet in it. And she doesn't even look at the card. She just puts it on and calls her mom. Mother, come look, come see what I got.
She's very excited.
Yes, about her new bonnet. And mother says, oh, who do you think sent it? Who do you think sent it? Everyone seems very poor in this now at this point, I'm thinking.
Well, I think they seem a little more well off than Pierre because Camille says, maybe it's from Pierre.
Well, where's Dad?
Her mom says, no, he's too poor.
But where's Dad, Karen? Where's Dad?
I don't know.
They're in like an apartment, I figured, right? They're in a building with other tenants.
They're in a flat.
But the mother says, oh, perhaps there's that card that came with it. And then Camille opens the card and we see it, Karen. And it says a bunch of words on it.
Which basically boils down to come to the carnival tonight.
So actually, Karen, it says, Mademoiselle, you are lovely. Who knows what the future holds for you? Great things are written on the stars. Erik and I will read them for you. Tonight, the carnival. Come. Admiringly, Dr. Mirakle.
Yeah, like I said, come to the carnival tonight.
So Camille's mother says, it was very nice of the doctor to replace the bonnet that the ape took. Next, we hear Camille's group of...
They wonder how he knew where they lived.
They do.
They do.
But they don't really give a shit.
Well, I think
all they care about is, oh, look at this. She has a new bonnet. She's going to wear it to the picnic. That's all they give a shit about. In the end,
it's a plot point. It's a plot point.
They don't really care.
But we do.
Do we? We already know. So next we hear Camille's group of friends call for her. She runs to the balcony and they're all down there on their mules and they sing a song about a little man.
Marrying a little man.
I don't know. They sing a song about a little man on her shoulder or some shit. I don't know what the hell it was all about.
But they're all on donkeys.
Mules, donkeys, mules, whatever. I said mules.
Okay.
But they go to the picnic all on their mules or donkeys. Probably donkeys, actually. And we see lots of young couples in love, Karen.
Yes, we do.
And we see Pierre pushing Camille on a swing.
It's lovely.
And apparently he didn't notice her new bonnet. So, she has to point it out to him.
And she makes him guess who sent it. Guess.
Yes. And he says several people.
But he's wrong.
And she tells him it is from the Dr. Mirakle. And he stops the swing and he seems to be suspicious of the doctor. He says he will go see the doctor that evening in her place at the carnival.
He says Mirakle isn't an ordinary man.
Next, we're at the carnival and everyone's packing up. Pierre arrives at the doctor's tent. Pierre tells
with a cape, with a cool cape and hat. I wish capes were still in fashion. I like that look. For a poor guy, his clothes were pretty nice.
Yeah, I like his hat.
Yeah, the hat and the cape cuts a good figure. I wish that was still around.
Didn't care for his mustache, though.
No, I agree.
So Pierre tells the doctor that Camille is not coming and that she sends her regrets. Pierre explains that he is a medical student and the doctor's lecture on evolution was very interesting to him.
This is where Dr. Mirakle's unibrow makes a brand appearance.
But Pierre asks the doctor if he has done any experiments or published any papers. The doctor says he has done experiments, but no papers have been published as of yet.
None to be shown, he says.
None to be shown. Dr. Karen, have you published any papers to be shown?
Yes, Greg. Yes, I have.
Oh, do tell, Dr. Karen. Tell us what you've published.
I have a very low number of papers. I think there's 6 or 8 of them.
Well, that's 6 or 8 more than I do, Karen.
No, I'm not exactly sure. I haven't looked it up in a while, but it's a very low number.
But I did play with the Richmond Symphony Orchestra, Karen.
Yes, you did. I did get one in a very high profile journal, actually 2. So that was big for me.
Okay.
Back in the day.
So if people Google you, will they be able to find these papers, Karen?
Maybe.
In medical.
My name's pretty common, and there are other Karen Hudsons, so you'd have to either search Cincinnati or Johns Hopkins or Stanford.
Yeah.
And they might come up. It's hard to find them because my name is very common.
Okay. Karen, lots of Karens. Lots of Karen
Lots
Hudsons.
of Karen Hudsons, actually.
Well, it does just like roll off the tongue, doesn't it? You can see why lots of Hudson
I
parents
did
would
get one
name
in a
their-
journal called Blood.
Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Blood.
Blood.
All right, so the doctor tells Pierre that he is leaving for Munich in the morning, he and Erik.
Before that, he does say that his home is the tent, that's where he lives. Just again, because in a little bit that makes a difference.
Well, yeah. Next thing I have is Pierre leaves the tent and he overhears the men packing the carnival saying that they're not taking the doctor's things because he's staying in Paris.
Yes, so Pierre knows that he lied.
So Pierre follows the doctor to his house in Paris.
He hitches a ride on his carriage.
Does he?
He gets on the back bumper.
Okay, cool. Good for him. It's kind of
Well,
ballsy.
that's the best way to do it.
Is it? Was Erik in the
moment.
carriage now? Eric's in the carriage, right?
Yeah.
Erik can't smell fucking Pierre on the back of the carriage.
Well, I guess not. Not in the streets of Paris.
Yeah,
There's
whatever.
lots of smells there, I'm sure. In
Yes.
1845.
Yes. Throw out your dead. All right. Next, we see Pierre, and he's explaining to Camille about the actions of the previous night. They're on her balcony again, I think.
Well, yes. He watched Mirakle take Erik into the
To a
building.
house, yes.
Yeah. So they do have a house in Paris.
And here's where I made a note. I don't like Camille's voice. Don't like it.
Okay.
So she just has one of those faces that doesn't look like it sounds. If that makes sense.
Is her voice too high?
Yeah, I just didn't.
Or is
like
it too Betty Boopish?
I didn't. Yeah, maybe it's too Betty Boopish. I didn't like it. So they talk of Paris on the balcony, and then they kiss your face again.
Yep. They're in love.
All the while, Dr. Mirakle is down below on the street watching. Hello, boys and girls. Thanks for listening to the Scary Spirits podcast. Karen and I really have a great time putting these episodes together. If you enjoy what you hear, please consider taking the time to leave a review wherever you listen. Reviews really help independent podcasts find listeners. The more listeners we have, the easier it is for people to find us. Now, back to the show. And Pierre makes Camille promise to bolt her door that evening before he leaves. And she says she will, and then he leaves and goes to the morgue. Just as Pierre leaves, Dr. Mirakle enters the building.
He picked the lock, right?
He
Is
just
that what he
walked
did?
in.
Oh, I thought he bent down.
It's
and
like a
picked the
common
lock.
area. Apparently, it's like
All
this
right.
apartment building. Next, we see Camille wishing her mother a good night. And as she walks by the door, there's a knock at the door. And Camille asks if it is Pierre. And the doctor says yes. Camille opens the door, and the doctor tells her that he is leaving Paris and he must talk to her. He tries to get her to come with him in his carriage to a cafe.
She's appalled at this. She's in her night clothes and he kind of pushes his way in. And she
Yes.
keeps saying, go away. No, go. You must go away.
She covers herself up, Karen.
She's very modest. It's very inappropriate for him to be there. Dr. Mirakle is saying, you must come with me. You must. He
Oh.
has a message from Erik,
Yes.
who talks only of her, and he can't forget her.
Yeah, but Camille refuses and forces him out the door and bolts it.
And then she just goes to bed.
Yeah, goes to bed. And the doctor goes down to the carriage and directs Erik to go up and get Camille.
She does pray before bed.
She does like the cross thing.
Yeah. Now I lay me down to sleep.
Whatever. Next, we see Pierre examining blood. And, and
Again,
he
just-
discovers that the foreign substance in the woman's blood is the blood of a gorilla.
Gorilla blood cells.
Yeah, from his books. I guess he's comparing blood cells, pictures
He's
of
still
blood
comparing
cells.
pencil drawings, though.
It's 1845, Karen. What the
I
hell do
know,
you
but
want?
It still they look exactly the same. He's like, look at the gorilla red blood cells that look exactly the same as the human ones.
And it's black and white. They could be different colors. We don't know.
Okay. But Pierre has figured it out.
Yeah, and he rushes to Camille.
He tells his roommate that the girls died because the blood of a gorilla was injected into their veins.
That's what he
Not-
says.
Not quite sure how he got there, but he did. And he's worried about Camille.
Next, we see Erik climbing the wall of the building and entering Camille's apartment or flat.
Well, wait, do you want to talk about xenotransfusions now, or do you want to wait?
Don't even know what that is, so go on.
I guess this is as good a time as any.
Xenotransfusions, you say?
What do you think that means?
Xenotransfusions.
XENO transfusion.
XEN. Okay, so I was going to say different transfusions between different genuses, but
Different species, yeah.
transfers, yeah, something like that.
So he's saying she died because she was injected with gorilla blood. Okay. I guess it could be xenotransfusion, but I think it's xenotransfusion is not widely pursued field. But when it comes to animals, you can potentially swap blood with. Chimpanzees aren't actually the best choice. You want to guess what might be the best choice?
Orangutans,
No.
gorillas.
Chimpanzees are our closest evolutionary relatives, but the blood of pigs is actually a better match for human beings than chimps and great apes. The porcine antigens of the AVO blood group system are more easily matched with humans and are less likely to cause a rejection or immune response. That's why they use heart valves from pigs, if you've heard of that, and
Yes,
transplanted
Karen, I
into
have.
humans. So there's a lower likelihood of being rejected. The red blood cells.
Is that why they call, like, there's the term long pigs?
What?
Nothing. Never mind.
I don't know.
Long pigs, boys and girls, look it up.
The red blood cells of pigs are similar in size, volume, and life cycle length to humans. Their genes can also be manipulated to close the gap and make their blood even more compatible with humans. While it is possible to use chimpanzee blood in certain extreme situations, it will have to be type O blood. So donating human blood to chimpanzees is far less studied and not believed to be viable. So if you're looking for interspecies blood donation, chimps and apes aren't as good as pigs, but it could work. There'd be a lot of complications down the road, only if you use type O. So it might not be that these women of the street have rotten blood. They just might not be type O.
Okay. And it's gorilla
Although
blood
I'm not
too.
sure.
It's not chimpanzee blood, it's gorilla blood.
Well, they're both great apes. So they're pretty close.
So can you transfer blood between gorillas and chimpanzees?
I don't know if they're maybe if they're the right type.
So it's all about the type, probably.
So if you put in the wrong type blood into
if you put the wrong type blood in a human, that's not a good thing.
So what happens is basically your red blood cells explode, and then that releases all those toxins into your bloodstream. So yes, you're right. You have to have the right blood type or the right antigens, or you're in trouble. So this could all be screwed up for him because of blood type, not knowing that what he's doing could have worked, I guess, a little bit.
Yeah, Dr. Karen, when did they determine that there are different blood types?
I don't know. I don't know when that was. That was a good discovery, though. That saved a lot of lives.
I'm sure it was.
I mean, if there weren't complications, I'm sure they would be doing this all the time. There have to be much more complicated issues down the road.
1901, Karen.
Okay, well, they didn't know then.
Nope. 1845, they had no idea there are different blood types. Not until 1901.
Wow, that wasn't really that long ago.
Nope, just over a century ago, Karen.
I know, but think of all the lives that have been saved since 1901.
Yep.
But I will say at this point, I still don't understand what he's trying to do. What's his end goal here?
Who?
Dr. Mirakle.
He's trying to prove that.
How does that prove anything?
If you put the blood of a gorilla into a woman and it just is like normal, then I guess that proves that you can put one from another into another. So I guess he's trying to prove that you could use a gorilla for a blood transfusion to a human and vice versa.
He's trying to prove the evolutionary path of gorilla to human.
Yeah.
But we
By
now know
saying
that
they can you can use
pigs are better
their
match.
blood is interchangeable. Well, we know that now, Dr. Karen, since you
I
told
know,
us.
but I just don't get why. I just didn't get his end point here. I didn't understand what he was trying to do. I didn't see how that proved
overthinking
anything.
it, Karen.
I just didn't see how
You're overthinking it.
All right. Pierre runs to Camille's place.
Yeah. Pierre running through the streets.
Yep.
Next, we see a shadow of Erik approaching Camille.
Shadow work, yes.
She wakes and screams. She faints.
Yep, immediately.
Mother enters. Erik approaches. Pierre running up the stairs. Screams as the ape attacks the mother. Lots of screams. So much so that the other people in the building all come out and the police come and they break down the door.
Well, the door is bolted when Pierre gets there because he told Camille to bolt
the door. Yeah.
So he can't get in. The ape is in there wreaking havoc. So everyone's gathered, yes, and they break down the door.
They enter and they find both Camille and her mother missing. The police find money and jewelry, so they say, well, it's definitely not a robbery, and there are no bodies either. So they're not sure what crime has been committed here, if any. But the policeman makes everyone stay there until the prefect arrives so he can question them all.
And Pierre is very upset, obviously.
So the prefect begins interviewing everyone, and he interviews 3 men, specifically a German, an Italian, and a Danish man, right? A Dutchman, I guess. And they all swear they heard the other languages coming from the room, and they argue. That is one of the things from the short stories that they kept. Edgar Allan Poe's.
So basically, he's establishing that it's a language that no one understands because each witness is saying it's a language
he's
that
also
he doesn't know anything about.
He's also establishing that, witness accounts are often or mostly unreliable.
Well, in the story, everybody knows there was a Frenchman because they heard that and they knew it was a Frenchman, but nobody can pinpoint what this other dialect was. It's not Italian, Russian, German, whatever they say it is.
Okay.
So he concludes from that it's something that nobody's heard before.
Gotcha.
Which basically is
monkey talk. So,
and I said Pierre reminds me of Gene Wilder for some reason. That's what I put here.
Yes, because of his mustache.
I think it's his hair, but
he reminds you of Gene Wilder and Young Frankenstein, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So next they question Pierre, and he tries to tell them it was an ape. And Pierre explains that the body must be somewhere in the room of the mother. He hypothesizes that the ape took Camille and killed the mother, and the body must be somewhere in the room, right? So next they open the chimney to find Camille's mother hanging there. They open the fireplace, right?
Yeah, she's in the chimney. She stuffed up the chimney.
Yeah, she stuffed up the chimney, and the prefect says that Pierre knows too much, and he begins to accuse Pierre.
I think they put him in cuffs. Don't they arrest him?
He's already in cuffs. He's been in cuffs. But Pierre tells them that it was the doctor and the ape. Prefect says he is insane, but Pierre finds the hair of an ape in the hand of the mother, which is again from the short story. So that part, yeah. Next, we see the Dr. Mirakle, examining Camille's blood. And apparently he's already put the blood of the gorilla in her, right? And he says, it is perfect. And I wrote, Erik seems very happy.
He is very excited.
Yes, he is. Pierre and the police arrive because, Pierre knows where the doctor is living in Paris. They try the front door, but no one answers, Karen. So the prefect says, oh, no, it's abandoned. No one here. Let's leave.
But Pierre is insistent.
They find a side door. The policemen come and say, there's a side door. Well, first Pierre says, we'll break down the door to the front door. And they don't. But they find the side door, and they don't have any problem breaking that one down for some reason, because that's the first thing they do. They start
Well, the
trying to break it
assistant's
down.
trying to hold him off.
Yes, Janos has barred the door and he is holding the door. But I guess the doctor lets Erik out of his cage.
Yeah, and Erik doesn't want to give any more blood.
Yeah, so he attacks the doctor. Next, the police fire a shot
He kills
through
him.
Yeah, he attacks the
Yeah.
doctor and kills him.
He didn't say he killed him. He just said he attacked him. Because I think Erik loves Camille. He doesn't want to hurt her.
But the police fire a shot through the door, killing Janos. Erik picks up Camille and carries her off. The police enter and find the doctor dead. He gone. Next, a large amount of townspeople gather in the street and see Erik and Camille on the roof. Like the street went from deserted to like everyone in the town is in the street now, looking up at Erik.
Well, this is exciting.
I suppose. Erik carries Camille from roof to roof, and the police and the townspeople follow from below. At one point, Erik nearly falls from a downspout and almost drops Camille. The townspeople gasp, Karen.
Would you like to comment on Camille at this point?
She seems very stiff. Like a
She's
dummy.
Like a mannequin.
Yes.
And the hair is bad. It's bad.
Well, we haven't commented on Erik, how he switches from man in ape suit to actual chimpanzee. And
Well, yeah.
like all the close-ups are an actual ape. They filmed in a zoo, but it is a man in an ape suit the rest of the time.
Well, the man in the ape suit is carrying a mannequin. Yes, is carrying a mannequin, and it's bad.
From roof to roof.
Yes.
That's
But there's a
not,
King Kong vibe, right?
Yeah, it's not bad for 1932, probably,
A
though.
kind of King Kong Beauty and the Beast vibe. He's in love with her.
But Pierre goes into a house and goes through an upstairs window to reach the roof, and
Are
he
you
begins
saying
following
that an
Erik.
ape cannot fall in love with Camille?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Pierre also steals a gun before he does that. You're so unromantic, Greg.
Erik reaches the end of a roof, and basically a dead end for him. Pierre arrives, and Erik drops Camille, and she regains consciousness just in time to grab onto a chimney before she falls into the river below, Karen. Because up until this time, she seemed like she was unconscious. She was still passed
I
out.
hope so, the way she was being carried.
Pierre shoots Erik.
But first, Erik raises his hands in the air. Did you see that? Almost like giving up.
No, he's
Pierre.
going to attack Pierre.
Is that what that was supposed to be? Because
Yeah.
I thought he was giving up. Okay.
No, that was a gorilla going to attack. You're raising your hands and, shaking them all around and pounding your chest, and whatever.
All right.
But Pierre shoots Erik and he falls into the river. Pierre pulls Camille up to safety and they embrace, Karen.
The crowd cheers.
Next, we're at the morgue again. And this time they're talking about Dr. Mirakle.
The policeman uses snuff. Did you see that?
Yes, he does.
So they're not smoking Marlboros. They're just
Nope.
using snuff.
Using snuff. And the coroner says, number 2. So to put him in number 2. And he asks the age, and the policeman says, doesn't matter. He asks the profession, and the policeman says, scientist or something. He asks the cause of death, and the policeman says, an ape.
Death by ape.
The end. It's a universal picture. That's what it says. And then we have
no sequel potential.
Yes, and then we have credits, and a good cast, is worth repeating. And once again, Sidney Fox gets top billing. The end.
Dun dun dun.
All right, Karen, anything you were pleasantly surprised by or especially enjoyed in this film from 1932?
This Universal film.
Yes.
I liked Bela's look. He looked a lot different than he has in other films, and I liked it. I thought he did a good job as Dr. Mirakle.
Yeah, I thought he stole the film.
Yeah, I agree. He carried the film again, I think.
He's a lot thinner than I thought, though.
Is he tall? Because he looked tall in this, but I don't know if they did that on purpose.
I think he's, well, we've talked about his height in the past. I think he's kind of tall. But in this film, he was a scientist doing thirsty work, Karen. So he had his sleeves rolled up quite a bit. And
Yes.
his forearms seemed very thin, thinner than I thought they would be. You know what I mean?
I liked seeing him out of the monster role. I mean, he's still a monster, supposed to be a monster, but he's not Dracula and he's not Frankenstein. So you could really see him. I hope that was his real hair. Because I really liked it. It gave him a jaunty look, you know?
Yeah.
It made him look younger too, I think.
He did look younger because this is post Dracula and he looked younger, much younger in this.
Yeah, I agree.
Unibrow didn't help though.
No, but
his age.
I'm hoping that was a costume type decision and not what he walked around like.
I kind of assumed that they didn't want him to look like Dracula.
Oh,
so
that's
they tried to
probably
make
true.
him look as unlike Dracula as they could.
Yeah, that's a good point. They may have done that. So I don't know if that's his real hair or not, but like I said, I hope it is.
Anything
Other
else?
than that, yeah, not much.
Didn't like any other actors. Didn't like Pierre or Camille.
The set was kind of nice. Some of the streets of Paris, kind of,
all right.
you know.
Lots of them were obvious paintings and stuff.
You know, but there was a good contrast between.
Even in his lab, that you could tell that the walls and things were paintings and sets.
Yeah. I think what I mean more by it is they really set the mood differently with different scenes. With Pierre and Camille up on the balcony, like I said, it's all light and airy, but down on the street, it's gritty and dirty and dark. And they had a lot of contrasting sets. I think they used that well. That's all.
Okay.
You could really get that he was poor and when he was in his flat, and you could feel the carnival atmosphere with that set. I think it helped.
I could smell the macaroni, Karen.
Could you? Were you hungry?
I was. Though it didn't look like macaroni. It looked more like spaghetti to me.
Yeah.
But whatever.
It was spaghetti. But it looked good.
Yeah, it did.
You could tell it was sizzling. You know?
Anything else pleasantly surprised by?
Not really, no.
Science. Was the science accurate or accurate for the time? Accurate for 1845? Anything like that?
I guess. It was hard for me to tell what the science really was. But it seems like it was fairly accurate. Are you going to agree with me on everything, or do you have your own, what you were pleasantly surprised by?
No, I pretty much agree. I agree with, I think I liked Bela in this one. He kind of stole the show. Pierre, I couldn't get over his mustache.
It was distracting.
It would have been better without it. You know, I would have liked him better. It was almost like he was made up for a silent movie. It looked like to me.
A lot of the actors kind of looked that way, though, didn't you think?
Yeah, I guess.
A lot of them looked that way. I don't know if it's heavy makeup or just it was the flat hair.
They're
and
all
the heavy
very
eyebrows.
pale and
and the heavy,
heavy eyebrows, heavy mustache.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else, Karen, you're pleased with?
Not really.
Right. Anything you were very disappointed in? Things you didn't like about this film, Karen? Anything at all?
I did. Like I said, I don't really get what he was trying to do. I didn't get it, but you're telling me I'm overthinking it. So
you're overthinking it.
I apologize. I'm overthinking it, but I actually went to
you have to put yourself in 1932.
I had to read the story. I went back to read the story to see what the heck is the doctor trying to do. And the story had nothing to do with the doctor.
Right.
So I didn't get my answer there. I thought
how long was the story?
I don't know. It
looked very short to me.
It's not long.
Okay.
You know.
But yeah, the doctor, there was no doctor in the original. Right?
No, so I went for the story for clarity and I got none. So I'm like, well, that didn't help me at all.
Yeah, the film went through several rewrites and
it's interesting when you
only
read
a couple things they kept.
Very few.
Story.
It's interesting the poetic license that someone will take after reading a short story and making it into a movie. You know, it's a lot different.
Yep.
I mean, it's hard, I'm sure, to make a short story into a movie, but still, it's very different. I was surprised by that.
Yeah, there's very few elements from the original story in the film, but they had Bela Lugosi was cast very early, so were already like changing
Well,
the
like
story.
I said, that was their best decision.
Anything else you didn't like?
Well, I mean, the ape shots. The shots at the end were pretty rough with him carrying her over the rooftops. But I guess for what was it? What was the
1932.
1932, I guess. They got the point across. You know?
So the guy who played the ape, Charles Gamora, like he's famous for playing like apes in movies. That's what he did.
That's interesting.
He's known as the King of the Gorilla Man for his prolific appearances in many Hollywood films wearing a gorilla suit.
Interesting. Niche.
He's a makeup artist as well, but yeah. So he seems to be kind of short in stature. Maybe that's why. Don't know, because the ape is much smaller than Bela in the film. But yeah, they shot the film with this Charles Gamora in the ape suit. And then later they went back and reshot a bunch of stuff. And part of that was shooting close-ups of actual apes in a zoo.
Well, he definitely had more of an ape suit, and the close-ups look like chimpanzees.
Yes.
So you could see a difference. And I don't even know if they really needed the close-ups. I guess they were trying to make it more realistic, but
yeah, so they added 7 days of retakes at the very end after it was done of scenes filmed, including a retake of the duel sequence, which I think is the two men with the knives. New scenes of Pierre's and Camille's rooms, and 5 days of refilming the rooftop climax and close-ups of a monkey at the Selig Zoo.
that's probably a significant amount of the film since it's only an hour long, all those reshoots.
Yeah, they increased the budget to $186,000 and added 7 days.
Did it do well at the box office?
I think so. Yeah. It made 21,000 in its first week. It did poorly compared to Dracula and Frankenstein, and once it was distributed nationally, did read stuff about stuff being cut too. Like they cut 15 minutes out of it because you'll see different like times. It's like it's 62 minutes, but sometimes you'll see 75 minutes listed.
Oh.
They cut some of the evolutionary shit out, apparently. Censors did.
Oh.
And some of the stuff about the woman tied up.
I thought it was not rated.
It isn't, but
the
still.
censors still got in there?
Yeah.
I thought that was the whole point of not rated.
Right. So Censors Board in the United States abbreviated scenes showing the death of the prostitute and removed shots of her being stabbed and of her tied up in the laboratory. They also removed scenes of dancing girls and elements of the plot that suggested man evolved from apes.
All the good stuff.
But there's lots of that in there, right?
I mean, it's still in there, yes. So I don't know why shortening the time would make any difference, but
yeah, so lots of times you'll see it listed as, like I said, 62 minutes or 75. So I'm not sure. The version we saw was 62 minutes, but all of that stuff was pretty much in there. So I don't know how much they would have cut out,
Maybe he gave a longer speech at the carnival and the dancing ladies, there were more of them.
Maybe.
Longer.
I don't know. I would like to see an uncut version, though.
It's interesting because of course you would.
Oh, yeah. Maybe there's
in
a bare
something
breast,
wicked.
Karen.
In Something Wicked This Way Comes, they were dancing ladies too. Remember at the carnival? The one guy wants a woman and he goes in and becomes entranced by the belly dancing ladies. So that must have really been a sideshow thing.
Oh, yeah. Ladies from the Far East, Karen, doing their belly dances. Anything else you were disappointed in, Karen?
Not really. What about you? You're good with what you said, Erik?
Yeah, Erik.
But I don't know what else they're going to do in that time frame. I didn't think it was that bad. I thought it was an okay suit. He was supposed to act like he was human. Well,
it was obviously a suit, and it was obviously a real ape during the close-ups.
Well, I think that's what the issue was. If they'd have just stayed with the suit, you would just have to accept it as that's what it was going to be. And it was a little awkward because he did walk, and like in the carriage, he leaned out the window with his arm because he's supposed to be like a human.
Right. And if they did that kind of thing, which was suggestion, it wasn't, you know what I mean?
They should have just not used the real ape photos, because then you would just accept
and not do any close-ups on the ape face.
Yes.
Would have been
that
better.
would have been better. I agree.
Thank you, Karen, for agreeing with me.
It just makes life easier, Greg.
I wish other people would realize that.
They will eventually. Everyone will come to the conclusion.
Anything else, Karen?
Not really. I didn't really hate it. I didn't really like it.
I mean, there was some, like, again, different times, things that wouldn't fly today,
Well, there were
Native American thing, and
there were some racist things, but then there were the odd things, like the scene where they're singing to Camille and Camille singing back. I'm like, what is this?
I don't know.
It didn't
about
seem
the tiny man, the little man. I don't know what that was all about.
To fit.
All of a sudden, we're in a musical. I said,
it just popped out of nowhere. It's like, stick a musical number in there, okay? That seemed very out of place to me.
Yeah, me too. As they're on donkeys, so I'll get on donkeys and sing.
And then all the couples on the picnic. There were some weird, non sequitur kind of things.
They just weird too.
Like they just shoved things in that didn't really need to be there. But
no, and it kind of felt like they're trying to be smart or witty. You know what I mean? With the couples and how they were interacting. Like,
oh, what the dialogue? You mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe it was comic relief a little bit, but it just didn't need to be there. I mean, the macaroni scene, I buy that. I'll take that comic relief, but the singing and the picnic, totally unnecessary.
I agree.
So tell me about the Iron Maiden song. What's it about? Is it follow the movie or the story closer?
I haven't read the story.
Oh, well then how did you know?
What do you mean? How do I know?
But you knew that some things
from
in
research.
The story. Oh, okay. All right. I thought you had read it.
No, I haven't read it at all.
So what does the Iron Maiden song, what are the lyrics like? Does it follow the movie?
It does not follow the movie.
Okay. What's the chorus?
The chorus? Murders in the Rue Morgue. Someone called the gendarmes, which apparently is an armed officer in France. It's a French officer. Murders in the Rue Morgue. Fight before the killers go free. Fight, V-I-T-E.
All right, so I'm going to need more than that. What's the first stanza? Does he talk about the prostitutes? Does he talk about...
What's interesting?
Camille and her mom?
Starts out, I remember it as plain as day, although it happened in the dark of the night.
Okay.
I was strolling through the streets of Paris, and it was cold. It was starting to rain. And then I heard a piercing scream, and I rushed to the scene of the crime. But all I found was the butchered remains of two girls lay side by side.
Okay, so in the story, Camille is killed and shoved up the chimney, and her mom is brutally ripped apart and outside the apartment. So there are two girls murdered. So he's sounds like following the story, not the movie.
And then there's the chorus. And the next verse is, there's some people coming down the street. At last, there's someone heard my call. So apparently he's called for help, right? Can't understand why they're pointing at me. I never done nothing at all.
Okay.
But I got some blood on my hands because everyone's shouting at me. I can't speak French, so I couldn't explain. And like a fool, I started running away.
Okay. In the story, it's a sailor that owns an orangutan.
Right.
It's actually an orangutan.
Yes.
And
I didn't know that.
The orangutan escapes from the sailor who mistreats him basically. And the sailor comes in and the orangutan is mimicking shaving in the mirror. Like he knows what to do from watching his owner, for lack of a better term. But he's holding that razor when he runs away.
Straight razor?
Yeah. That's what it implies. And he sees the light of the flat of Camille and her mom and just goes up there, kills Camille by strangling her, shoves her up the chimney, and then mutilates the mom with the razor. But a lot of the talk in the book is how strong.
The story, not a book.
Sorry, yes, the story. I agree. It was in a book of all his stories. So yes, but it's a story. Absolutely. Talks about the strength because the mom is basically decapitated because he's so strong. And Camille is strangled where he didn't let go of her the whole time. And they look how big the handprints are and things, but the sailor does climb up, but he can't get in the window. And there's a whole bunch about how the ape or the orangutan escapes through the window without anybody knowing how he got out. But the Frenchman or the sailor watches what happens and he can't stop it because he can't get in and he leaves.
The next verse of the song is, and now I've got to get away from the arms of the law. All France is looking for me. I've got to find my way across the border for sure, down the south to Italy. So he's making a run to Italy. And actually, that's more the bridge than another verse. Then there's the chorus again. Then the next verse is, well, I made it to the border at last, but I can't erase the scene from my mind. Anytime somebody stares at me, will I just start running blind? Well, I'm moving through the shadows at night, away from the staring eyes. Any day they'll be looking for me because I know I show the signs of murders in the Rue Morgue. Yeah. And the chorus again. Next verse. It took so long and I'm getting so tired. I'm running out of places to hide. Should I return to the scene of the crime where the two young victims died? So I'm going to say right here. I don't hear it that way on the record. Right?
Oh, well, how do you hear it?
I hear it where the two young bitches died. And lots of people I've read agree with me. That's what he says. Instead of victims, he says bitches. That's the way I hear it. If I could go to somebody for help to get me out of trouble for sure, but I know that it's on my mind that my doctor said I've done it before. And that's now how I hear that either. And other people say the same. But basically, at the end of the song, he's saying, I've done this before. It's you know what I mean?
It doesn't follow the movie, but it does say two young girls, which implies the women of the streets, because in the story, they keep describing Camille's mother as the old woman, which I kept getting offended at because I'm thinking, how old is her mother? But they do call her the old woman. So he might be talking, because there were 3 women pulled from the river in the movie that were used for experiments. But unless he's talking from the viewpoint of the orangutan, because the orangutan does escape.
I did read enough of the story to know that it's an orangutan and the sailor and all that stuff. But
they don't catch the orangutan. They entice the sailor into the apartment to find out details about what he knows. But what year was that?
It's from the 1981 album Killers.
And who wrote it?
Steve Harris, Karen.
Okay.
Bassist.
Is that the bass player?
The bassist and leader of Iron Maiden. Yeah, Iron Maiden is Steve Harris's band. He wrote it.
Okay.
Stephen Percy Harris, Karen.
Wait, isn't that his guy in Rat? Stephen Percy?
No, that's Stephen Piercy.
Oh,
Piercy,
sorry.
not Percy in Rat.
My bad.
Yeah. Don't confuse your hair metal with the new wave of British heavy metal, Karen.
All right. Well, that's interesting. But I can't tell which one he's following because there's, poetic license no matter how you look at it. But it's interesting to see where people
Could
are
be
inspired.
some of the other movies. I mean, there's like 4 other versions of this film.
Yeah, it might not be this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good, because there's a 54, there's a 71, and also one from 86, which obviously the song couldn't have been based on, and one from 2012 called Morgue Street.
And there are I think they said 4 of them that feature Pierre. Pierre's a different character in the story than he is, and they changed his name in the movie, but he's a different character in the story, definitely. All right, cool.
That's the Iron Maiden song, Karen.
For all you heavy metal fans.
Off my favorite Iron Maiden album.
Well, that's saying something.
Killers.
Are all the songs about killers?
There is a theme.
Okay. Because this one obviously is. Interesting. I'm inspired. I'm going to write songs about killers.
And actually, there's a song on there called Innocent Exile, which is kind of a sequel to Murders in the Rue Morgue. Some people say that it's about the guy when he's like in hiding.
I'm always impressed with the creativity of people.
Anything else you'd like to know about killers, Karen?
No, I don't think I'll be listening to that album before I go to bed.
So there you have it, Karen. Murders
Awesome
in the
information.
Rue Morgue by Iron Maiden.
I might bring the science, but you bring the Maiden.
Well, duh. All right, Karen, what do you think of the cocktail?
I like the cocktail.
Bloody monkey.
But I like it has mixers in it, so it's got a nice
Still no
apple
banana.
taste.
I don't think we've done any monkey drink that has banana in it yet.
Not yet.
Right, what kind of cocktail rating do we want to give this film? How many cocktails did it take you to get through it, Karen?
I'm gonna say 4.
4?
Yeah.
Not a 3? You think it's a 4, not a 3?
I think it's a 4. I don't know. It was an hour long and it seemed too long. You could have cut some scenes out of it. I liked Bela a lot in it. A lot. But I didn't really like the rest of it. It just was
Yeah,
strange.
I can go with that. I liked Bela. I didn't really care much for Camille. So
I didn't care for the movie as much as I liked him. I thought he was excellent. I wish they could have pulled him out using that character and put him in something much better.
Like the Black Cat, Karen.
Well, but this character as the scientist, pushing his idea of evolutionary theory before it was even thought about, that's a cool character, but the story was just silly. He's supposed to be this outrageous scientist, and I think he played it so well. He didn't play it over the top where he's running around and just being crazy.
No, he wasn't mad scientist. He was
intellectual.
Scientist.
He was an intellectual before his time, and he played it well. He didn't do it over the top. He didn't do it in a way that made you feel like he didn't know what was happening. You believed he was a scientist, and he didn't act crazy. What he was doing was a little off the rocker, but
All in the name of science, Karen.
Yes, there you go.
Science. All right, 4 cocktails. Anything we learned today?
Lots of blood
And microscopes.
and microscopes.
I dropped a little microscope knowledge.
There you go.
I did my part, Karen.
Good job,
Blood
Greg.
and microscopes, platelets, and
Now you know the
red blood
platelets.
cells. Well, I know what platelets are. That's what kills you. That's what I said. White blood cells. Those platelets, they cause blood clots and kill
Platelets
your
are important.
ass.
They either kill you if you have them, too many, and kill you if you don't have enough.
Yeah, it's true. You either bleed out or you
It's a
stroke.
delicate balance.
True that. All right, Karen, unless you have anything else, your choice is next.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone's so excited. So
Episode 55. What film have you chosen for us, Karen?
So the movie I have chosen, Greg, in honor of Mother's Day, is the 1968 movie, Rosemary's Baby.
Rosemary's Baby from 1968. In honor of Mother's Day, you say.
Yes.
Have you ever seen this film before?
Not all the way through.
I haven't either. I'm sure
I've seen pieces.
It's a psychological horror film, Karen. All right. Do we have a cocktail?
We do.
Okay. What would that be?
It's called a vodka blush cocktail.
Vodka blush. And what are we going to need for that?
2.5 ounces of vodka, a dash of grenadine, 1/2 ounce of fresh lime juice, and 1 sprig of rosemary for garnish.
Also known as the Rosemary's Baby cocktail, apparently. Karen.
Yes, it is.
So it's from the movie. They drink this in the movie?
They drink this in the movie, yes.
Okay. Yeah, looks simple enough.
Looks strong.
All right, Karen, anyone you need to thank this episode?
Well, as you can probably tell, since we mentioned them multiple times. And we have mentioned them before, but I'd like to thank Courtney and Jeremy for following along. We appreciate you.
Yes.
And everyone who listens. Thanks for spending time with us.
And I need to apologize to Courtney and Jeremy for my recent choice of films. I will try to do better. You know what I mean.
They do. What about you? Who else do you have to thank?
Well, I have to thank Verse 13 once again for providing all the music in the Scary Spirits podcast.
The music does make the podcast better.
Yes. Yes, it does. Check out their Bandcamp page. darkowlrecords.bandcamp.com.
Check them out. And check us out on social media too. Follow us, like us, subscribe, leave a review. A good one, if you don't mind.
All right, Karen, anything else?
Please drink responsibly.
Yes.
Thanks for listening to the Scary Spirits podcast, where the movies might be iffy, but the drinks are always solid. We would love to hear from you. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Scary Spirits Podcast, or go to our website, scaryspirits.com. And if you want the direct line, email us at info@scaryspirits.com. If you really want to help us out, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. And remember, always drink responsibly. See you next week.